British accent.
Big moves, I'm that dude. Bet I see you from the top, yeah, real soon. Looking down on the haters that I've been through. Told them I'll see you later, yeah, big truth. I keep a real good pace. Built a big house, damn, look at that place. Up in my mind, cause that's my space. House so big, full of positive things. And I can't be shook, cause I ain't no rook, man, I wrote the book.
Welcome back to another episode of the Monsters of the Gridiron podcast. I got my guys with me, Terry and Walt right here with me. Let you all say a little few things before we get started. What's up, Terry? How you doing down there in Florida, baby?
I'm doing okay, mate. Hello. You know, I'm getting ready to go to London, so I'm trying to get my voice together. You know what I mean? So, but I'm doing great. I'm glad that we all made it from the storm, man. It was a real tough storm, and my heart goes out to everyone who's affected by the storms out here in Florida.
Nice. Glad to hear you all are doing well.
Yeah, Terry, I'm glad to see, you're here. I'm glad Samo's here. Will should be here in a little bit, I think. But, yeah, I'm just ready to talk some Bears, man. It's going to be a good week.
Most definitely.
Yes, sir, man. Let's just get right into it then, man. Big game, big week for our Bears, man. Going across the pond to face the Jacksonville Jaguars. Not a really good team, but, man, it's not a team we can take lightly. They did get a win last week, man. How you feeling about this week's game, Terry?
Yeah, like you mentioned before, we can't take them, for granted. They are struggling in some ways, but this is Jacksonville's second home. A lot of people don't know that. They're not aware of it. Each year they play in London at least twice a year. So they have a lot of fans. That's because their owner, Shah Khan, he made that, be known that that's what he wanted for his Jacksonville Jaguars. So there's a lot of Jaguar fans, but I have to be honest with you, there's a lot of Bears fans that are coming over to London. We got our Bears group. Shout out to the Chicago Bears UK group that's out. They've been putting out some real good information. But for us, we're just going to have to stick to what we know. And if we play like we played last week, and get everything, all things clicking, we should be able to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Absolutely. How you feeling about it, Walt?
Exactly. It's going to be a tough game. I know Jacksonville's kind of struggling right now in the win-loss column, but they're still putting up about 393 yards a game. In terms of, they have about 28.5 points. So it's going to be, there are no slouches on the field. It's just right now they're just not clicking. So it depends on if we can take advantage of that, which I feel like we can. And yeah, it's looking good for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a win that we absolutely need to put on our in the W column right now. And like you guys said, man, we can't take these guys lightly, because they have won a game last week, and like you just said, Walt, they're putting up yards and putting up points. So, we're going to have to come prepared for this team. Like Terry said, man, they're second home right now. But Terry also brought up an interesting fact about, the travel situation. Terry, what was that you were saying in the back?
Yeah, because of, Hurricane Milton, the Jaguars couldn't leave out during the day that they wanted to leave. I think they're actually leaving out. I don't know if I read this correctly, but I don't know if they're leaving out tomorrow or not. But it's an advantage for the Bears. All the stuff that I've been seeing, all the reports that I've been seeing, it's definitely an advantage for the Bears, because I think the Bears. Well, I know the Bears are already there. So because of the storm, they had to alter their flight path, just like me. I was actually supposed to fly out tonight, and because of the storm, they pushed my flight back to tomorrow. So that's actually a good thing for the Bears, but that's still one thing that we can't take for granted. We're going to have to go there and do what we know as Chicago Bears and win this game.
Absolutely right. You're absolutely right, man. Like you say, man, last week's game was the first complete game that we've seen as Bears fans in quite a long time, man. So if we can duplicate that effort that we saw last week, this week, man, then I feel good about our chances of winning, because like I've said on Monday, Terry, you weren't here. I feel like we have a championship caliber defense, man.
Yeah.
A championship defense. And if the offense can catch up and, and just, put up some points, that's only going to make the defense even better playing with the league. So, man, I know that Jacksonville's been putting up yards, and we know that Trevor Lawrence he's a decent quarterback, man. He's having a rough year though, but Jacksonville has a lot of weapons on offense, man.
That's a rookie.
Yep.
You got a rookie wide receiver that's killing it right now.
Yeah, the guy from LSU.
Yeah, Thomas.
Yeah. He was a guy who was on our radar. We talked about him during the preseason, and about possibly drafting him, but we ended up with a better guy, I think, in Rome Odunze, the guy who's starting to come on as well. But man, like you said, they have weapons.
Yeah.
It's not only Thomas. I think they got Dave Davis last year.
They got Gabe Davis. They got Kurt.
Yep, Christian Kirk, and the tight end, I can't think of his name, is pretty good.
Evan Ingram.
Yep, and ETN. So they have weapons on offense. So we're going to have to defend the entire field, which I'm not worried about. Only thing I am a little bit worried about is our offense, because we don't know which offense is going to show up. And we don't know which offensive line is going to show up. So I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Well, I have to be honest with you. Last week, the offensive line, when we made the adjustments, we actually looked fairly decent. I think Caleb was even surprised. That's why he was humming it down there, because he was like, "You mean to tell me I got time to throw? I got time today?" But so he was definitely surprised by that. And then we can't forget that Brisker is not going to be playing in this game as well. So that's going to be a tough loss. But I think Hicks is getting the start for Brisker. But also, I didn't know, and I don't know if you guys noticed this when we talking about offensive line. You see that Matt Eberflus snuck our third-round draft pick in there for a few plays. So that's actually promising. Give the young fella, even though they may not have been as meaningful, he did some some kickoffs and things like that. Went with extra points and stuff like that. But just to give him some game time reps, I think that's going to be pretty good, because he has a promising future. Hopefully, what you think about that, Walt?
Yeah, it was nice to see, Karan take the field, and I think I wanted to back up and just talk about, Brian Thomas Jr. for a little bit here, and that was the big surprise for me, because he's leading the entire team in yards right now. He's like 300, just shy of 400 yards.
Wow.
And he's averaging about 18 yards a catch, and he's catching about 65% of his passes. So for a rookie, he's going to be no slouch. So it's going to be interesting to see how guys like Jalen Johnson and Tyreek Stevenson cover him as the corners, honestly. And then, we brought up Christian Kirk, and actually Gabe Davis is probably the worst of the bunch.
Yeah.
Honestly, right now. So it's going to.
And he got into it with Trevor Lawrence on the sideline last week.
Yeah.
Did he? Man, trouble in paradise, huh?
Yeah, but and also Jacksonville offensive line is not good at all. And so this is where I expect Montez Sweat to eat. Him and Dexter, those guys should be eating on the side. And then what's the guy that we had picked up late, and he's I think he's almost
Taylor.
52. Oh my God, I believe he's going to have himself a pretty good game, because Jacksonville offensive line is not that great.
Yeah, I'm hoping you're right, man. I want to get after it early on, man. Our defense has to jump on these guys, because, like you said, there are no slouches. The rookie is playing extremely well. Like another LSU guys, it seems like all three LSU guys came in the league hitting the ground running, didn't they?
Yeah, but that's no surprise. They're wide receiver man. They've been putting out wide receivers for a long time.
Yep, and 2 receivers and Neighbors as well, and then their quarterback Jaden Daniels is also having a pretty good start to the season. But hey, man, we can win this game. Like you said, Terry, we got to get out there early. I'm disappointed that Brisker is not going to be there, man. It hurts my heart that he wasn't able to travel with the team on this trip, because he is a big part of this team, and he is like he's one of the heart and soul of this team a little bit, man. He's one of the vocal leaders on this team. So I know he's extremely hurt by this. So keep your head up, big dog, get healthy, and you'll get back in there. What I am surprised about is that Hicks gets the start over Jonathan Owens. I don't know how you guys feel about that. I thought that maybe Jonathan Owens would get that start. I understand that Hicks has been here for a long time, but we've also seen Hicks have some mental lapses in games and broken coverages in games. So I don't know. That just sticks out to me in my head. I can remember it happening in the preseason as well. Whereas Jonathan Owens, I've seen him have some pretty solid games throughout the preseason and even this year when he's on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think. Go ahead, Walt.
No, I was just going to say that, yes, Hicks is getting the start, but I don't think he's going to play the entire game. It might be more of a rotation setup, like Eberflus does with his offensive linemen. So, I mean, I know you have concerns about Elijah Hicks, but like I said, I don't know if he's going to be in there all the time, and more than likely it's his spot to lose to Jonathan Owens at this point. So if he does struggle, I don't see them keeping him very long, and then just throwing Owens out there instead.
Yeah, and this is going to make him play better because he knows he has that short leash. You know what I mean? But I think the reason why they went with Hicks is because they were more familiar with him. And but I think he knows that he's on a short leash because Jonathan Owens, he's been playing fairly decent. He missed out on the interception that he should have had last week as well. So I like the way that he's a ball hawk. So I like the way that he goes and try to get after the ball. But I think, like you said, Walt, it's going to be a rotational thing. But this feels good to be stacked. Like when we can lose Brisker temporarily and still feel comfortable with the player that's coming in to replace him. So it actually works out. But I think Hicks realizes that he's on a short leash.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's always good to have good depth on defense and on offense. We saw it on defense. We're going to have to see it on defense this week with our safety, but we saw it on offense last week with the offensive line, man, where we had to, tap into that depth a little bit. And one of the guys that stood out to me was Bill Murray, man. I don't know. Everyone's clipped him up and talking about him all over Twitter, and not just for the name, but the dude got game. And I didn't know that he's the transition from defensive tackle to offensive guard, which was suggested by Bill Belichick, who moved him to change his position. Wow. And you can kind of see it because his demeanor he plays with the demeanor of a defensive lineman, man. So I don't know, man. I think that he deserves an opportunity. We don't know what's going to happen with Tevin this week. I think he's probably going to be a game time decision as he's still listed as questionable and limited in practice. But man, I feel good about, getting to see what Bill Murray is because, man, we might have something there. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I love it. I say bring it on. And this is what I was talking about. When he came into the game, you can see the grit that he had. You know what I mean? He was bulldozing folks, pushing around, and he was just happy, honestly, to be out there. So if Tevin is not a go, then I don't think it's going to be too much of a drop-off, if any. And so, but I believe that if Tevin is healthy, I think they're going to go with him because, they feel comfortable with him, but just know that we have that safety blanket, just like we do with the safeties that we have back there. But yeah, the offensive line, they actually they played very decent. Now, granted, it was the Carolina Panthers, but those are still NFL players, and they're out there, making things happen as well. So hopefully we can beat the Jaguars, and hopefully if our offensive line blocks and play like we did last week, Caleb's going to have himself a night because Jacksonville Jaguars defense and secondary is not good at all.
And to your point, Samo, I know he was limited yesterday, but he actually didn't practice today in terms of Tevin. So it was him. Practice? Yeah, it was him, Brisker. Lewis had the off day, and then it was Pickens and Terrell Smith all didn't practice. But everyone else was pretty good. So, and like Terry brought up, if Tevin doesn't go for whatever reason, I think we're going to be okay in terms of having Bill Murray out. And plus, it gives us, a bigger sample size to look at than just 37 plays.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got him subbing in. We got Matt Pryor on the other side subbing in at offensive guard. So our two backup guards actually solidified the offensive line, which is kind of crazy to me because, like Terry said, Caleb had some pockets last week, man.
Yes.
Some pockets where he was holding on the ball too long for me a little bit. I think he couldn't find anyone open, and he started thinking that he was about to get pressured, and he ran himself into some problems a couple of times just because he's so used to getting pressured, and he had a nice, clean pocket. So, man, I hope that it keeps, that continues, man, because we see that when Caleb has time, man, he's going to throw for 300 yards a game. If you get this guy a good offensive line, he's going to find guys open, and I think I also liked Shane Waldron last week, man. And
Yeah,
I go to him.
yeah.
Like Shane Waldron schemed it up really good for him last week. We got the ball going downfield. I didn't see a lot of screens and sideways passes, man.
Yeah. Your favorite.
The first play of the game scared me because, that quick out and the ball stale, but they said it was the wind that took the ball when Caleb threw it behind. I'm like, what the heck is going on? I'm like, oh, no, we're not about to start the game like this. Almost an interception. I was like, please don't start the game like this. But then it picked up right away, man. We see passes downfield. We see deep. We see them stretching the field on all three levels, man. It was just good to see, man. How you guys feel about the game plan Shane Waldron had last weekend? The development of the offense, too, because we also seen the running game pick up, too.
I was just about to talk about that.
So how you feel about
who lit a fire in Swift's butt, man? You know what I mean?
All the media and the chat rooms, because they were dogging the boy.
Yeah. And I'm glad to see him and Roshan both get touchdowns. You know what I mean? And so it's just good to see Roshan actually get, kind of, getting some play. But I'm really surprised that Herbert. I mean, he's a kick. We got him as kick returner, and he's getting in the game. But I'm really surprised he's not getting touches at all. And I don't know why, because he's a pretty good running back as well. So.
Well, I mean, I think that just kind of nailed home what we've kind of been talking about all offseason, that his time in Chicago might be coming to an end. There's just no place for him right now, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so that what I think Chicago should try to do, if they're not going to utilize him like that, go ahead and trade him.
Yep.
Because I know the Bears are going to look to add, put a little pieces, because there's going to be a few teams that's going to have a firing sale real fast, and that's going to be the Cleveland Browns, who are just absolutely disappointing. And and there's a couple other teams that are going to be having firing sales pretty soon. So you might as well go ahead and get whatever you can from some of their best players.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, we beat these Jacksonville Jaguars. They might be one of the teams that has the fire sale.
This is true. Yeah.
I mean, they're 1-4, right?
Yeah, they'll be 1-4.
Yeah, so if they lose one more time, they're pretty much done.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, somebody's gonna get Robert Saleh pretty soon.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness, man, that was a crazy story, right?
Yeah,
what happened with Robert Saleh, man, and it just makes me hate Aaron Rodgers even more, more than I did before. So, but yeah, man. Did you have anything you wanted to say about it, Walt? About the offensive game planning and Shane Waldron?
Hey, you know what? I mean, the offensive game plan is looking interesting. Shane Waldron has to build off what he did last week, and that's high tempo, in rhythm, and just a continuous motor forward. Everything looked good and it looked smooth and it was quick. And he was known in Seattle for having a very fast offense, which we didn't really see the first couple of weeks. I don't know if that was just trying to implement the game plan and it took too long, or he didn't know how to do it, but he figured it out finally. And you know what? There's one thing we're not really talking about here, and that's the two quarterbacks. And I think we can segue into talking about them. It's the battle of the number one picks.
Yeah, it is.
So you have Trevor Lawrence for former number one pick himself, and Caleb Williams. So we did add up here the actual stat lines that everyone has going into the game, and it's pretty close, guys.
Yeah, they're pretty neck and neck.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, absolutely is. I think I saw something on Twitter saying that Caleb Williams is the first number one pick to have a winning record after 5 games.
Yeah.
So
you got to look at the situation that most first quarterback to be picked run into. This is not that we already know this. It's not an ideal situation for the first pick in the draft. So he's actually playing with house money.
Yep. Yeah, he absolutely is, man. Yeah, that's telling. That's telling, man. So Lawrence has had his ups and downs, man, as a quarterback in this league so far. Like we said before, I think he's a good quarterback. I don't know if the coaching is, helping him or what's going on down there, but they have too many weapons not to be just killing teams right now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think he reached his peak.
What's that? He missed his peak.
I think he reached his peak.
He reached it already. Yeah, I think maybe teams have figured him out.
Yeah,
you're right. Maybe defensive coordinators have just figured out how to beat him, and if that's so, man, that's a terrible loss for for the league, I feel like, because he was the generational guy before Caleb. You know, they were saying that he was the generational guy.
Yeah.
So, man, but he did have that playoff win. What was that? The year before last? Or was that last year? Well, he did.
No, that'd be 2
before.
years ago because they didn't make the playoffs last year.
All right,
yeah,
so
and the Jaguars actually tanked to get to it. When I never forget this, I was at the Jaguars. I was at the Jaguars Colts game, and the whole crowd was saying, "Tanking for Trevor, doom, 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 doom,
wow.
doom, tanking for Trevor." And it looks like they was tanking for him because they only won like one game that year, I think.
Yep.
So I was like, "Wow, yeah,
Yep." They got him.
they got him."
They got what they wanted, man. Be careful what you asked for.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't know. I don't think I think maybe with a different coach, someone who could get a little bit more creative and, develop his game a little bit better. Maybe he can turn it around because that team is just too talented to have such a bad record. Too talented on offense, I would think.
Hey, they had Calvin Ridley last year.
They had who?
Calvin Ridley last year.
Exactly. They had Calvin Ridley. I forgot about that. They did have Calvin Ridley last year. So, man, it's just been an offense that has a lot of star power that doesn't win games for some reason. And, you're told that you get the quarterback and then you put the team around him, give him the weapons and you give him a decent offensive line and everything's supposed to fall in place. And for some reason, it's not falling in place down there. I haven't looked into it, so I don't know what it is. But, man, if I had to guess, I would say that the coaching situation is going to change after this season.
Yeah, and by me living here in Florida, I get to see the Jaguar stuff all the time. And I think one of the biggest things by watching some of the Jaguar games is that they can't finish. Like, quite honestly, they should have lost last week to Joe Flacco in the Colts. You know what I mean? They let the Colts come all the way back with Joe Flacco, who was a statue back there. So I just think that they couldn't finish. So and that's the stuff that I've been seeing from the Jaguars. And to be honest with you, Trevor, he's just he's just playing blah right now. So yeah,
just nothing special, just game manager, just managing the game, making making the throws he's supposed to make. Nothing special. He's not gonna win the game for you, huh?
Yeah, he's gonna have to watch himself because Montez Sweat gonna have a field day on that side. I can promise you on that.
I hope so. But it is kind of a testament to Caleb Williams too when you really look at the numbers side by side, just how far along he is, for as young as he is, and how early the season is. He's basically winning in almost every category here, minus the interceptions to touchdown ratio.
Yeah. Yeah, but he's a rookie too. Trevor Lawrence been in the league how many years? 4 years, 5 years?
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Right? He's got a higher completion percentage. The yards are pretty much identical. It's a 9 difference. Who cares?
Mm-hmm.
And then the passer rating is only a 7-point difference.
Yeah, and those interceptions came early on. Like these past 2 games, he hasn't turned the ball over. So
exactly. So Relentless Mikey's here tonight. Shout out to him showing up. He's asking the question, why Tommy Sweeney when we have 3 healthy tight ends?
Oh, did they sign Tommy Sweeney?
Yeah, they brought him back.
I love Tommy Sweeney, man. I've been pounding the table for Tommy Sweeney since he left.
I'll tell you what, though. I mean, is Blasphemy game back?
Yeah, he's been a healthy scratch last 2 weeks.
Yep.
Yeah, and so I mean, I've been seeing that we wasn't going with the fullback option. We went with an offensive lineman, was in there and blocking. So I mean, that kind of exposes Blasphemy game. So we'll see.
Yep, and we talked about this on Monday when you weren't here, Terry, about Blasphemy game just not being utilized, and that's why I didn't think that he was going to make the team because I'm thinking that a fullback is probably going to be utilized on this team 15% of the time, 15% of the offense, or less, or no more than 20%. Let's just say that. But if you get a tight end, a guy who can play in that role, he can also back up the other tight ends. He can go. You can put him out on routes, and a tight end in that position just seemed more logical to me than to keep Blasting game. I just thought we would have kept either Tommy Sweeney or what was the other guy? Brendan Bates.
I think one of those guys got picked up by Detroit or something, right?
The Jets, Brendan Bates.
Yeah,
he was a rookie. He was a rookie. And I thought he played a really good season, preseason. Both of those guys, him and Tommy Sweeney, they made plays in the run game. They made plays in the passing game. I thought both of them deserved to make the team. And I'm glad to see that Tommy Sweeney is back. Unlike Mikey, I think we need him, man. Tight ends, we've been running a lot of 13 personnel. That's probably why. They've been running a lot of 13 personnel, so you want to make sure that, you have guys. You're going to need bodies if you're going to keep doing that. And we don't know if maybe one of those guys are ailing. We know we got one guy who's back there who's 40 years old. So
yeah.
You're
only going to get 2 or 3 plays out of him.
Exactly. You got to protect yourself. You got to protect yourself. So I like the move. Who did they cut? Who did they release to bring him back, though? I got to go read up. I didn't see that today.
I think it happened the other day. I think it's got to do something with the Carlson injury and the way they're working
Carlson.
things.
Oh, yeah, I forgot they had Carlson, too. Brought Carlson back, and he ended up, was it collarbone or something? Breaking his collarbone or something in practice.
Yeah, so they're probably just, moving pieces around that way, so. But,
stop it, Mikey.
Yeah, maybe 1 or 2 in the entire game, but
oh my God, I don't want to see any tight end screen. He's like, no, if you're gonna run a screen, make it Swift or one of our wide receivers, man. I do not want to see a tight end screen, man. These guys.
Tell me about it. So
what do you?
Go ahead, Walt.
Well, no, I was gonna ask you guys, what do you think about the defense for the actual players on defense for the Jacksonville Jaguars? Because I know our offensive line hasn't been the greatest, and it was better last week, but you still got to worry about guys like Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines Allen coming at you on a regular basis. So I don't know, and Walker's already has 5 sacks, and we're only in game 6.
Really? 5 sacks already? Wow, that's crazy.
So did he finally earn that number 1 pick, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the best unit on their defense. I don't think the only thing they have is they probably have a pretty decent defensive line. They also have Josh Allen on that defensive line. So, yeah, I mean, we're going to have to come out and we're going to have to block it up. I think that we did a good job last week. I think he schemed it up a little bit different, too, the protection plans. I'm saying DeAndre Swift coming up the middle and helping guys and helping the guards in pass protection and so forth, picking up blitzes. So, we're just going to have to have a really good protection plan like we did last week. I think we can handle these guys. He says Walker had 3 of those sacks last game. So, that's an outlier there. If a guy has 3 sacks in the game, he just had a good game. That don't mean
and it was against the Colts too, quite honestly. The Colts was beaten down and everything. But you're right about that. But one of the things too is over the last couple of games, we've been playing against a lot of good defenses, man. We started out the gate, and then we played against, Houston and their defense. And now I think nothing should shake us now. I think we should be clicking on all cylinders, quite honestly. And last week was a testament of that too. So
yep, I agree. It's nothing we haven't seen as far as the blitz is coming in. I think Caleb has done a better job of that as well, just recognizing the blitz and where it's coming from and getting the ball out. So I'm not as worried about it as long as the one position I am worried about is just center. It's just because it's been inconsistent. Shelton did have a really good game, which Walt pointed out on Monday. He has been pretty solid probably the past 2 weeks. He hasn't had a lot of issues, but it's still up in the air. He hasn't faced anyone either. So, once defenses see that, they might start moving Walker over him or putting Josh Allen over him just to see, if he can handle those guys. So that's just something to look out for. It's the only guy I'm worried about because pressure on the outside is one thing. I think we can handle that, but pressure from up the middle is what's been killing us as an offense. It leads to turnovers. Caleb can't step up in the pocket. Batted passes. Just too much bad happens when we have those the pressure coming from up the middle. So let's just get that solidified.
Yeah, because like JTK was saying, they really don't have any good defensive tackles, so the interior won't be that bad. The problem is their defensive ends are very good. looking at,
Yep.
in terms of like pressure percentage, you got Allen with 13%, and Trayvon Walker is the only other double-digit guy with 12 on the team. So where the pressure is going to come from. So
Mm-hmm.
hopefully that alleviates a little bit of stress on Coleman Shelton. But you also have to worry about guys like Braxton Jones. Right? He wasn't credited with the pressure last week, but how's he going to handle against those two big guys?
Right.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, if you matching up against the Bears defense, you should be pretty good right now. I mean, we play against them in practice, so there shouldn't be no excuses, quite honestly.
Yeah, which makes me think that sometimes they don't practice hard enough, man. Like you got to bull rush Braxton a little bit in practice, man, and get him a little bit better with it. I think he held up last week. He got some help from his guard and Bill Murray a few times, but
yeah,
I mean that's what's supposed to happen. You're supposed to get
Yeah.
help when you need help, and then you're supposed to get chips and help from tight ends and chips from the backs. Like that's what you're supposed to do. Help your guy out, man, when you see him struggling a little bit. So as long as that happens, I think we're in good shape. And like I said, I just fear that the Jacksonville Jaguars defensive coordinator might just look at our defensive line and say, "Where is it weak? It's weak in the middle." Josh, go over the center, go to 3-tech it on third down or something like that, on third and long plays or something like that. So that's just something to look out for.
Yeah. And, even like on our defensive side of the ball, it's almost the exact opposite right now, where our interior defenders are actually getting the most pressure on the team.
It's crazy.
They're identically at 11.8% in terms of their quarterback pressures right now. And that's for both Jervin Dexter and Andrew Billings.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Montez Sweat and DeMarcus Walker aren't far behind at 9, and DeMarcus Walker actually has more pressures right now than Montez Sweat.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's just something to look into.
Yeah, Walker, we talked about it Monday. Walker creates a lot of pressure.
Yeah. Yeah, I really expect the Bears to dominate. When you talk about pressure in this team, do we have a standout player that we expect to have a good game on offense and defense? Who are your top players that you're looking to have a good game on offense and defense? Who's your breakout player, gentlemen?
What do you say, Samuel?
I'm gonna go with Jervon Dexter, man. I think Dexter gonna have another big game. I think he's hitting his stride right now, man. That dude his confidence is up,
Yeah.
and this offensive line isn't very good, so I look for him to have a pretty good game, pushing up the middle. Maybe he gets a 2-sack game. I think he gets at least one more sack this game. And offensively, I think this is probably going to be the breakout game for Keenan Allen. Like we haven't seen, everyone's had a breakout game on offense. We've seen Cole Kmet have a game. We've seen Rome. We've seen DJ. We've seen Swift. The only guy we haven't seen yet is Keenan Allen. He wasn't healthy to start the season. He's healthy now. I know he's hungry. So I hope they don't try to overfeed him, but I do think that they recognize that, Keenan hasn't had a pretty good game yet. So they may force some plays to him or have a little package for him to hit the ground running this game.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I was gonna go Montez Sweat, but Mikey kind of beat me to it right there. He's going with Roma Dunze and Montez Sweat. I'm actually gonna say, off chance, Austin Booker is gonna build off that limited amount of snaps he had last week. He finally had that big sack coming near the end of the game, and I think that's gonna, getting the first one's always the hardest, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're looking at where is the pressure coming from in terms of the woes of the offensive line for Jacksonville, and it's both their tackles. Both Cam Robinson and Antoine Harrison have been, they've given up 13 and 11 pressures by themselves. So, I was going to go with Jervin Dexter, like you said, but they're more than likely he's probably going to end up lining up against Ezra Cleveland, and Cleveland's been doing pretty good. And then you got Mitch Morris, the veteran there. They picked up from Buffalo, whom honestly I felt we should have got instead of Ryan Bates. Honestly,
yeah, yep, I agree.
But, that's neither here nor there at this point. It doesn't really matter.
Who's
But
your
yeah,
offensive guy?
offense, a tough one. I would say Keenan Allen, but I don't know. I'm gonna have to go. I think Rome is gonna pop off again this week. I think it's only a matter of time, and it's just been cooking. And now, the fuse was lit last week, and now we're gonna see the explosion.
Yep.
Okay. I think I think for me for defense, I'm gonna go with I'm probably gonna go with Dex too. I mean Dexter, because he's a Florida guy, and he thought the Jaguars was actually gonna draft him because the Jaguars are notorious for drafting Florida players. And they didn't draft him. So that in back his mind, he wants nothing best but to stick it to the Jaguars for not drafting him. So I think for him on defense, he's going to do well. But I think this is going to be the game for Roshan. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars run defense is absolutely horrible, and I think Roshan is really going to have himself a game this next game. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him even break 100 yards this game.
Wow. Yeah, that'd be nice. That'd be nice, man. We get either one of our running backs to go for 100. I'm all for it. Or both. Yeah, or both. Like you said, their run defense is that bad, man. It could happen for both of those guys, man. This could be a 500-yard offensive game, man, for the Chicago Bears if everything just works out. And I think we're going to get a lot of opportunities because our defense is going to play well. Like I know that they got Brian Thomas playing well down there, but he hasn't faced a Jalen Johnson or Tyreek Stevenson caliber of cornerback just yet, and our entire defense is just too good for these guys to just come in and step all over us, man. I think we're going to get a few stops. We just have to rely on our offense to keep the ball and, keep some long drives, and I think everything works out for us.
Yeah, we have to pressure. We have to pressure old Sunshine. There's no way that we can't. We have to pressure Trevor Lawrence, and then because Trevor Lawrence will turn the ball over once you're pressuring him. That's one of the things that I was able to watch him all the way from Clemson because I'm an ACC guy, so I've been seeing him a lot. But even with the Jaguars being here, if you send some pressure his way, he'll turn the ball over.
Yep.
Yeah. Mikey's asking about Jacob Martin. He says, do you think he's going to get any snaps? He's been a full participant at practice today. He's just coming back from the injury he sustained in camp.
I think they have to take him off of the IR, right? I think he's still on IR.
Yeah.
I think they he's able to practice, but they have to remove him from IR, which they could do on Sunday, but in pregame on Sundays. But I don't think they've taken him off of IR just yet. I think he's starting to practice now, getting in that ramp-up period. And I think this is the first week, so I doubt that we see him this week, but they may give him those extra weeks, get his body in order so that we can see him after the bye week. And, man, he said, J2K says he is off of IR. I know he's off of IR, but they haven't released the player to bring him onto the active roster. He's off of IR, so he can practice. Yeah, he's on his 21-day window right now. In this window, but they haven't released a player to add, which we all know who's going to be released. We talked about it on Monday, right, Raw?
Well, if they're bringing up Martin, Dominique Robinson's probably gone.
Out of here.
Because I don't know where you're going to put him at this point.
He's out of here. Yeah.
Because you have Montez Sweat, you have DeMarcus Walker, you have Darrell Taylor, you have Austin Booker. Where's Martin going to go? It's going to be hard enough to get him into the rotation to begin with.
Yep, it's going to be really hard.
Then you just have a lame duck. Dominique Robinson sitting there on the bench doing nothing.
Mm-hmm. And we got it. And Jacob Martin is another speed guy too, man. We see what that speed is doing on that side of the ball with Darrell Taylor. So having Jacob Martin as the other speed guy coming off the edge will be really good. Maybe they can kick Montez Sweat in sometimes and put Jacob Martin and put our boy Darrell Taylor on the edges and let that speed come around, and then Montez Sweat use his power to push up the middle along with Javon Dexter, man. So there's a lot you could do with the defensive line if we had these two speed guys. So I'm looking forward to seeing Jacob Martin come back, and hopefully he's healthy. I'm just not sure if we'll see him this week. Did he make the trip over there? He made the trip.
Yeah,
If he made the trip,
Well,
man, it's a
it
strong
might give
possibility.
him
Yeah, it's a
especially
strong
if we win,
possibility. Yeah.
especially if we're winning big. Like if we're up by like 2 or 3 touchdowns,
Mhm.
they'll sneak him in like they snuck what's I can't get the guys. Karan.
Quran, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Legacy.
Yeah, see,
Yeah.
that's another. I know I'm jumping a little bit ahead here into next year's draft, but that's going to be really interesting to see what they do at the tackle position, especially with him and the tackles that are coming out this coming year. You have Will Campbell from LSU,
Yep.
and Blanks from is it Tennessee or is it
Yeah, and
Texas?
they
I
got a
always
kid from Boston College too. I think he's either Boston College or Virginia Tech, one of the two.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But we've been talking about Jacob Martin and Daryl Taylor. Both those guys are only on 1-year deals, so we got to get somebody to come in to replace them. I think Austin Booker is going to be one of them. But this weekend, LSU's playing football. And if you haven't been following them at all, you got to follow their pass rushers.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Savon Jones. I know I'm not pronouncing the last name correctly, but there's one guy, Brady and Swinson,
Yeah,
used to be on Oregon. Whew,
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that kid
yeah.
is
I follow
monster.
Going
LSU.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talented players that's coming out again this year in the draft. So for defense, um,
Mm-hmm.
is I like the way we are set up thanks to the Carolina Panthers. So
Mhm.
that definitely helps us out because we essentially got another first round draft pick, especially if they get the first pick in the draft this year. That kind of hooks us up in the second round. So
Well, even late in the first too, because you saw it last year's draft where they went from whoever had pick 33 went in to pick 32 on the very last moment of the day.
mhm.
So you can theoretically make that a first round draft pick with ease.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. So in knowing this, that the draft looks like a pretty good draft, especially at the top next year, and the trade deadline coming up. What do you guys think Ryan Poles' position will be? Will he be a buyer? Or will we just hold on to our draft picks until next year and just continue to build the team through the draft?
Yeah, I don't know. I think if you win another couple of games, you kind of have to be a buyer at this point.
Yeah. Especially if like Cleveland's tanking, they got an offensive lineman that people were talking about. I forgot his name, but he's pretty good. But he's just on a sorry team. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him make a move with somebody like that can add value to the team. I mean, and give up like a 5th round draft pick or something like that, because it's like Cleveland has that lineman that I was telling you about. This is his last year, so they might not be able to resign him anyway. So they at least get a 5th round draft pick. They kind of did something to help their team, because they're gonna need all the help they can get. Because after they paid and gave all that stuff to for what's the quarterback name?
Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun Watson, man, they need everything.
Looked like he lost his powers, his superpowers, when he on that massage table.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Terry, you're talking about Wyatt Teller?
Yes.
Guard from,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
What position? What position does he play?
He's a guard.
He's
Guard.
a guard.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if we can get a guard or a center, man, I feel like we can get a really solid center. I would definitely be down for a guard or a center, or even a dominant left tackle.
He's a right guard too.
He's a right guard. Oh yeah. So
The one problem is though, Samuel, he got torched by the Giants.
oh, he's the guy that got torched for the 3 sacks. No, no.
He only gave him 1 sack, but he gave him 5 pressures and 3 hurries.
5 pressures. It happens. It happens.
I mean, it's really only the one bad game on his record so far.
Yeah, but and that could be just like the team is not playing good either. You know what I mean? So if the team's not playing good, sometimes folks will be like, oh well, all right, have at it, because the team is not playing good. What, they won 1 game?
Yep.
Yeah,
they're pretty bad, man. The Browns are pretty bad, and they have options, man. Like they have options at quarterback. They still have DTR over there now. I like him coming out of UCLA. So we'll see.
Yeah, but they done paid him too much money not to. They just going to have to go down with the ship with old boy. So they paid him a lot of money, and it's guaranteed. That's the thing about
guaranteed. Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, it happens.
I think the other team we might want to look at too is the Raiders. Christian Wilkinson just went down for the year, I think, with
Did he?
Did he?
You just got muted, I think. Well, did Christian Wilkinson go down? Dang, that sucks for him if he did.
Yeah, if he went down, I mean, they're gonna. Well, I mean, are the Raiders in it? They got
They're
a tough,
out anyway.
They got a tough division, man. They know Kansas City's gonna win that division, so
yep.
You got to play for a wild card.
Yep, they already got their star wide receiver forcing his way out. Devontae Adams is probably going to be in New York pretty soon.
And what's that defensive end? Zach Crosby.
Zach Crosby.
Yeah, Max Crosby. He doesn't even want to be there. So now I'll take Max Crosby now. Trust me.
Definitely take Max Crosby.
It's going to be real interesting because you have a couple of edge rushers that might actually come up. You have the Hassan Reddick story. I mean, you all saw he parted ways with his agent today or just a little while ago before we started. So who knows what's going on with there? Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So the Woody Johnson's like, come on in and we'll talk about it. But I don't see that go. I think that relationship is sour to the point you just got to cut bait and run. But the other two guys, like you said, are Max Crosby and we got to talk about possibly Myles Garrett too.
Yeah, they said Myles Garrett might be.
Yeah, he's not getting any younger.
Mm-hmm. It'll cost a lot to get. It's going to cost $2 to get a Myles Garrett, though. I don't think that polls.
I don't want to do that. I think do that. We probably could get a Crosby though. We could probably get him for that. Give up that second round draft pick for the Panthers. I think they'll take that.
Yeah. No, definitely. I think in terms of getting them, it's probably Reddick, Crosby, and then a long third is Myles Garrett at the moment. But one never knows, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely right. Yeah, like J2K just said in the chat, the Raiders did switch quarterbacks.
They sure did.
Going away from Gardner Minshew. Well, Gardner Minshew did have a good year last season with Indy when Richards went down. So Getsy strikes again. We all know who the issue is, but they're always going to deflect and blame it on the quarterback. It's always the quarterback with Getsy. We know that.
Yeah. Hey, fellas, I'm excited about this game. I've been to London one time before, but actually going to see the Bears in London, I have to be honest with you. I'm excited about this one, man. So I'm gonna definitely send some videos to y'all and see if they got any paraphernalia. I'm gonna bring some back for the squad. I'm gonna have my Monsters of the Gridiron shirt. I'm gonna wear my orange one because I'm gonna tell you this is crazy. Ever since I started wearing the orange one during the Bears game on Sunday, they've been winning. So I'm rocking that under my
Keep
jersey.
It going. Keep it going. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because I went out and I bought a new Bears shirt the day before the game and I wore it, and so I got to do the same thing, man. Just got to keep winning.
Yeah.
Hey man, whatever keeps the streak going, do it. I'm very superstitious too. Whatever you did last week that helped with the win, that goes for everybody else in the chat too. If you drinking Budweiser, stick to Budweiser. Don't go to Bud Light.
Do not go to Bud Light, please and thank you.
Do what you were doing last week and enjoy yourself in the game, and let's get another win, baby.
So
any score predictions before we go?
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. Mikey's saying 33-17 Bears. What do you all think?
33-17. I like that.
I got 27-17.
I'll say 31-20.
It's a tough call. I think I'm going to go. Let's call it 31-14.
Oh, wow.
31-14.
Bears, right?
Yeah.
Bears.
I'll take it.
Everybody taking the Bears, baby.
Yeah.
Nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah, I think after what we saw last week, I mean, it's on both sides, on the Bears and the Jaguars. I think it's going to be tough to not take Chicago going into the game, at least.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially given the fact that, the Jaguars aren't even there yet. So
they're supposed to fly tonight, apparently. Either sometime they're probably going to be on like at 9 o'clock. That's still kind of pushing it. Yeah.
It is. I mean, you have to sleep an entire day almost in order to, get your body prepared when you get over there. I mean, Saturday is just Go lay down. We're gonna go
Yeah.
through our walkthrough. Go lay down.
That's it. There's
Try to-
nobody practicing.
And try to force your body to sleep, which is going to be extremely hard the first day. So, hey, I don't care. I'll take
Me
it. Look,
either.
look, it happens. You know, we have some bad things happen to us sometimes too as Bears fans. We've seen it all. You know, from coaches getting fired for whatever, defensive coaches getting fired for whatever, and all that stuff happening in the week to disrupt, you know, the flow. So, hey, you know, just have to keep rolling with the punches. Nobody felt bad for us, so I can't feel bad for them. Let's go Bears, baby.
Hey, and on that note, bear down,
Balls
baby.
up, bear down.
Bear down, guys. Have a good night.
All right.